Welcome to the Let's Talk About Talking podcast with your host, Adrienne Fuller, language and communications expert for kids of all ages. On this podcast, we talk about speech, language, and all things happening with your child, giving you specific tactical information you can use to help your kids talk, listen, and thrive in their academic journey. Hello, welcome to the Let's Talk About Talking podcast. I'm Adrienne Fuller, also known as Miss A, the SLP. And remember, on this podcast, I love to talk about all things speech, language, academics that are happening with your child from the beginning when they're babies and toddlers all the way to the end. I just got finished recording an amazing episode with an educational consultant about getting your child into college, which as my nieces are getting older, I am thinking about it a whole lot more. And so if you didn't catch that episode, go back and check it out. I thought it was amazing. But today I wanted to first talk about something that people, it's like they underestimate. And to me, that's the power of a good garage sale. I have found so many things that I use with kids at garage sales. I find really good board games. I find toys. I find furniture. I just love a great garage sale. Well, I do want to just recommend, because a lot of times, I have that book, 30 Days to Get Your Toddler Talking. And my whole thing was, you don't have to buy these expensive toys. You don't really even need to get on Amazon all of the time or Target or wherever you buy your toys to get great therapy ideas and great toys for therapy. So I was like, let me put this into practice. So I live in Central Florida, and I just happened to be up north. I went to Jacksonville to hear a band play, which they were amazing. Their name is Be Easy. If you ever have a chance to hear them, they were so good. But I heard them, and then the next day, my friend and I, we went to some garage sales. So I am in the middle of purchasing a building for our clinic, a bigger space, because we are told, if you come to us right now, we know that we are totally out of space. There's no waiting room, and we were operating out of a closet. Anyway, so I was looking for furniture for that. And we went to a garage sale, and this boy had all of his little toys. So he looked to be like he was selling golf balls. He seemed to be about 12. So probably to get like an iPhone or video game or something, which I think is great for entrepreneurial skills, putting something. And he was so good at it. He was like, "Don't you want some golf balls today?" I was like, I need to hire this kid. But he had this little box on the way out of all of his little toy cars and everything like that. And that just got my mind spinning. Like, okay, how can I turn this into something for language? So, see, I have it. I don't know if you can hear it but I grabbed a few things. So sometimes I like to grab little things I can put in my purse. And so I grabbed a toy car, I grabbed a shuttle, like a space shuttle, a rocket ship. I grabbed an airplane. There was a little small, tiny motorcycle. There was also a helicopter and then a skateboard. And I was like, what do all these things have in common? They all move. They're all transportation. And so if you are out and about and you're like, my kid won't be quiet unless they have a phone in their face, which I totally understand. I'm not anti-phones at all. Like, I remember when the girls were little and those phones just saved us and our restaurant meal. But sometimes you can use those little trinket toys like this in place of technology, and it gets them talking, it gets them active, and it gets their imaginations going. So I do highly recommend that you do that. You use that. And as you're out and about, those little things, if you lose that, I paid $1 for all 6 of these things. So if I lost one, I wouldn't be mad about it, but at least it's something I had on hand, or in your car for car line, things like that. So consider it. Consider using those kinds of things to also get your toys. Just disinfect them real well and let them air dry so they don't get things wet or have mold. Okay? So today, I thought that I'd talk to you a little bit about maximizing your child's therapy session. I'm going to go with that. I was actually between two, but maybe I'll do that one another time. But I feel like there is this, sometimes in almost anything we have in life, we have an idea of what we think something is. And so I find that many parents think that speech therapy specifically, but it could kind of go for any of them: ABA therapy, occupational therapy, even cognitive therapy. So if your child's having difficulty with grief or anything like that, therapy is a great thing. But I think sometimes in their heads they think, and I maybe thought it before I was actually a speech therapist, they're going to go in this room for 30, 45, 60 minutes, and then they're going to be better in about a month. Or they're going to sit at your child's going to sit at a table, and they're going to do a whole lot of flashcards or computer games, and then they're going to be fine. And so I feel like sometimes I want to manage expectations and give it to you from our point of view. But, therapy, any therapy, even school, really works the best when you are a team. And so as much as your lives are so busy, I get that you're working full time, you are doing all of the things. But I've always found therapy is best when it's carried over at home. So let's talk about today what you can do as a parent to increase or maximize therapy sessions. And I am of the belief, and every therapist has different beliefs, but I'm of the belief for many kids, I want therapy to be temporary. I have never loved seeing kids for long amounts of time, like from the time they're in kindergarten all the way through high school, like that. I'm not that kind of therapist. And of course, there are kids that need different kinds of therapists. So these things always apply for each and every session, for each and every kid. But in my head, I'm like, hey, if we hit this and we hit it hard and we hit it pretty intense for many things, not all things, in many speech and language delays, articulation or sound production delays, many of these things can be helped pretty quickly, especially if you hit it early and you hit it pretty intensely. Okay, so here's what you can do to maximize your therapy session. The first one is consistency. I say it all the time. I'll say it right here. You have to be consistent. I know sometimes if you are that working parent, that working mom, that working dad that's like, I drop my kid off at 7:30, Miss Adrian. I don't pick them up till 6:30. We have dinner. We do bath time. It's time for us to go to bed. Or we do homework, we do dinner, we're done. I totally understand that. And so being consistent is going to be the key for you. And so I find, and I'm just going to have some tough love here, a lot of times for you, I understand the reason why first of all, if you're going to be absent, it's 100% you must, for everyone's sake, let someone know. And I know you have a million things going on, but on our end, on the therapist end, we have prepared for the lessons. We are anticipating your child coming. And a lot of times parents will not show up or not even bother to call. And we all have emergencies. And a lot of times if there's a good reason for the absence, parents sometimes think, hey, I'm not even going to let them know because I know I had a good reason in my heart. Well, we would love for you to share that reason, even if it's in your heart, only because it feels like to us you're just kind of standing us up. So if your car breaks down, unfortunately, even if you have someone dear to you, like a death in the family, or someone has to go to the hospital, hey, it's nothing to send a text or something to say, hey, we're not going to make it today, and here's why. The other thing is, the next thing we really want you to say is, when can I make it up? And so, and I'm speaking for therapists and professionals everywhere, especially those of us who are in the private practice setting. A lot of times we don't bill for no shows. So just like you have to work, we're working too. And so if you give us the opportunity to make it up, progress is not lost. So that's the first thing. It's about money, but it's not about money. It's about the progress. Sometimes you want to keep that momentum. So even if it's like, man, we're going to be out of town today, we've got an emergency, but let's plan to make that up on Friday. Do the makeup. You think it's not working, but it's the consistency that really makes the big difference. So a lot of times when I see parents or kids that come into our office kind of every once in a while, then a lot of times it's like, this might be why we're not making progress. Because maybe there's, even if your child is seen for therapy once a week or twice a week and they've missed 4 sessions, okay, once a week is 26 sessions. And that's if there are no holidays, no sicknesses, no anything. So if your child misses, I don't know, even 4 of those sessions or 5 of those sessions, over a fifth or almost a quarter of their sessions have been missed. And so that's huge, especially when you're talking about when they're small or at any age. Like missing a fourth of anything is a big deal. And so let us know. Be consistent. If you're not going to be there, please let them know. If you miss it after the fact, don't be afraid to call and say, hey, you know what? I totally spaced on this, or I totally forgot. I'm so sorry. Can we make it up? That you would be surprised how far that goes. And so be consistent. That's number 1. All right. Number 2 is, don't expect the therapist to do everything. And I only say that because we welcome you to come into the room, or to really, even if you don't come into the therapy room every single time, or totally understand that sometimes when you take your child to therapy, especially when you're with them all day, you need a break. We recognize that, and we're happy to give it to you. But because we need that therapy carryover at home, if you're only literally doing a drop off and then picking them up at the end, your progress is going to take longer than you might want it to take. And sometimes you may not want to go in that room because, let's just have a real honest moment, they may be getting on your nerves and you might just need a quiet moment. Take the quiet moment, but say, hey, once a month, I'd like to come in and see what's going on. Or maybe I can come in at the last 10 minutes of the session and see what's going on. If your child's at school, make it a point to get in touch with that teacher and see what you can do at home to carry over what they are doing. It's always good when you're that squeaky wheel anyway, that they know what, even in the school setting, a lot of times, and I'll say it because I was a speech therapist in the schools, we are doing the best we can, especially in the schools with all the meetings and all. And sometimes therapy sessions get missed because we have meetings or the kids have a field trip. So you really want to be visible and you want to make yourself known to your child's teachers and staff and kind of try to figure out or determine, hey, can I just pop up and walk in? Lately, I've noticed that schools do not like when parents just pop up without an appointment and walk in. That doesn't mean there's wrongdoing. There could be a security issue. There could be a lot of things going on. So see how that's handled and make sure you're in dialogue with them because it really does go a long way. But I always say to parents, I see your kid or your child 30 minutes every week or 60 minutes every week. You have to carry it over because I'm not I'm not that good. Like I am that good, but I'm not. Like there's only so much I can do in 30 minutes. But imagine with the two of us together, what we can do. Okay. So what, like I said, and I preach this a lot. If you hear the past episode with Sarah Brown, she talked about how the two of us were like, we are a team and we are here for this child's success. What can I do and what can you do so we can make this and really make a big change? Hey, I'm not saying you're not doing that, but sometimes it's those simple things that you just need to hear as a reminder, because I do want to say I believe all parents are good and I believe all teachers are good. I think both of us each, teachers, caregivers, and parents, sometimes get a bad rap. At the end of the day, we're in the field to help you. And at the end of the day, you want the best for your child, and we know that. All right. So the next thing you need to do to maximize therapy is practice at home. I know I've said it, and I've said it a million times just now, but I'm saying 5 minutes a day every day would go way farther than you do it once, 30 minutes, and then you never pick it up again. And I know we all have those good intentions, but in order to make a change, especially when we're talking about things like specific, well, all things, but specific things like handwriting or speech sounds or language concepts such as following directions or pronouns or things like 5 minutes a day, whether it's, hey, before you go to school today, we're going to practice these speech words. On the way to school, we practice them. In the car, in car line, on the way to church, on the way to synagogue, on the way to anywhere, on the way to the grocery store. Big brother and sister, can you practice with them? Grandma or grandpa, like grandparents love helping. Aunts and uncles love helping. You could even say, hey, grandma, can you get on a Zoom with, especially if they're school age, with Johnny and practice his speech words or practice slowing down his rate of speech? That would be huge. And imagine the relationship your child's building with another relative. I mean, it would just be a win-win for everybody. And so consider, even if you're soliciting outside help for it, I think a lot of times we think it's this big effort. Like we have to do it for at least a half an hour. I would love everyone to practice 15 to 30 minutes on anything speech and occupational therapy related. But you know what? Sometimes you only have 5 minutes. And I'd rather you take those 5 minutes than do nothing. It's not an all or nothing. I'd rather a little bit than nothing. Okay, so practice and you'll see. It may feel like, oh, we're never going to get this. You know what? Practice your 5 to 15, 20 minutes and put it down and you hit it the next time. All right. And then another thing, the last thing you could do to maximize therapy sessions are, do you believe in it? Like sometimes you have to change your mindset a little bit, because if it's kind of something you think like this is something I think we should do, or our insurance covers it, so we're going to do it. I mean, there's a place for that. Like I have said this in the past, like, hey, if your insurance covers it, or if your school offers tutoring, and you should just take advantage of all the services. I do believe that. But I also believe you have to believe something's going to work for it to work. And so I remember once a mom called. She called to make an appointment, and she was like, I don't really, I don't know if my child's pediatrician said he needs it, but I don't think he needs it. This is not the patient for me, because I need you to know he needs something. Now, I'm not saying, hey, let's give them a label. I'm not saying let's give them, put something on them that is not true. But if you're like, I don't think he really needs it, I feel like when that's in play, I spend a lot of time convincing the parent that it's needed. And then we're working with the parent, trying to get the child to do what we want them to do, but the parent doesn't really think so. So if you need a second to kind of wrap your mind around, hey, my kid needs speech therapy, then I would rather someone take like a month or two and then really don't jump in it than to kind of be dragged into it. But that being said, I've just finished filming or taping an episode with my niece who had speech therapy. And she also said she wished that someone would have talked to her about it. So a lot of times we put our kids in a whole lot of things and they don't know why. They don't know if they've been, I don't like to say the word bad, but they don't know if they've been bad. They don't know why this is happening. And even kids that are really young understand a lot of things. So if you express to them, however you express it to them, you can go gentle parenting way, which I do love gentle parenting. I do believe in it. You can go, hey, you're going to do this because this is what we've committed to do, however you do it. But say, hey, we're doing this because I'm hearing it's hard for mommy or daddy to understand you. Or we're doing this because I think sometimes at school you struggle a little bit. And I think Miss Adrian, Miss Adrian maybe can help you with some of those things. Or we're going to this because I want you to be able to tell me what happened to you. If something happened to you, we don't want to scare them. Or I want you to be able to tell me what happened in your day. Sometimes I think it's a little bit of a struggle for you. I think they can wrap their head around that probably better than you know. So discuss what's happening with them and always, offer rewards and prep them for what's going to happen. But let them know, because if the child knows, then they can say, oh, this is why we're doing this. This is not just a cool place that we come to play. We're coming to help me get more words, or they may think that if they don't have a lot of words, they may not say that. But so they just need to hear it. So just as a recap, how are you going to maximize therapy sessions? Being consistent, not relying solely on the therapist to change or increase progress in your child. Practice at home. Believe that they need therapy, believe that this is something that is going to be good for them, and let them know, your child know what's going on and why we're doing it. Man, I hope this was helpful. I always come from a pure place, and I want you to know what we're thinking on our side. And so, because I know that I'm in this field to help, and I want to make sure I reach as many kids as I can while I'm here on this earth. That's one of our core values at Speech Builders. And man, we want to partner with parents to make a change. So use those things to maximize your therapy session. And for now, that's it. Happy communicating. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day or night whenever you're consuming this content. Until next time. Bye.
You've been listening to the Let's Talk About Talking podcast with your host, Adrian Fuller, language and communications expert for kids of all ages. You can grab Adrian's book, 30 Days to Get Your Toddler Talking, on Amazon or at speechbuilders.org.